So hi everyone, it's Julia, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about Alyson Stoner's YouTube video that she uploaded a few weeks ago called the Toddler to Trainwreck Industrial Complex. And so I'm going to give my general opinion on the video and talk about the most poignant sections that really stuck out to me. So let's get into it. So if you don't know who Alyson Stoner is, she was a famous child actress known for her roles as Max in Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, the one I watched her the most in. She was also known for Sarah Baker in Cheaper by the Dozen. She also was in Camp Rock, both movies. She was in the Step Up movies, and she had a ton of roles as a background dancer in a lot of artists' music, especially Missy Elliott's Work It. We cannot forget that performance that she did at the VMAs, paying homage to that video. So basically, Alyson starts off her video by talking about where the term Toddler to Trainwreck pipeline originated. She discusses that this is an expert system that has been put in place that has been meant to censor the experiences of child stars behind the scenes while manufacturing and glamorizing the actual lifestyle that they have. And then these young people literally implode from all the pressure, from all the stress, from all the can't say this word that they go through.
Since then, a full-fledged system has emerged. It's expertly constructed and it's bolted in place by censoring the harm happening behind the scenes, manicuring aspirational lifestyles and outcomes, and then watching young lives tragically implode.
So I completely agree with Alyson here. I really think back to when I was a child and how much I wanted to be a child star. I mean, I never I wasn't gunning to be a child star, but I always thought it'd be cool. And I would love when I saw child stars that were my age, because then I was like, oh, they're my age. Oh my gosh, we could be friends if we ever met, and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, you really look at their life and you're just like, wow, they live such this glamorous lifestyle. But there's so much that they're going through behind the scenes. If we're not even going to talk about the A word, the AB word, if we're not even going to talk about that, let's just talk about the pressure that they go under from the media, the scrutiny they go under, the comparison to their peers. I mean, my goodness, Bella Thorne and Zendaya. I mean, the way that they go through this comparison, the way they go through this pressure, body image issues, they go through so much behind the scenes, and they get exposed to a lot of things that they don't need to be exposed to at a young age. They get exposed to a lot. I feel like there's a lot of adult talk that they don't need to be hearing. There's a lot of things that they're surrounded by that young children don't need to be around. So Alyson talks about when she was 6 years old and she had this audition, and basically she had to play this girl who'd been AR'd, and she was literally in a fetal position under the table in the room that she was auditioning this in. She thanked the stranger that was recording her on the tripod or whatever, I don't know. And then she gets into her mother's car and she's literally catatonic for the first half of the drive because she had just played a scene where she was a girl that was kidnapped and AR'd.
On cue, I perform the scene. This morning, I'm being kidnapped, ending in the fetal position under a chair with my body frozen in fear. I stand up, wipe my tears, and thank the stranger for the opportunity. I walk to the car, ruminating over my performance, comparing my screams to the other kids I heard from the waiting room. Now, as with many parents in this unusual situation, my mother is not versed in how to help me regulate my nervous system. I remain catatonic on the first half of the drive until I remember we're on the way to a second audition for a Princess Toy ad.
And what's really sad about this is the fact that she said her mom didn't really know any better. And so she was really, really, again, catatonic for the first half of this car ride. And then after that, she's like, I gotta go do this Princess Toy ad. And so I have to be all smiley and cheery and jittery and all this other stuff. It's like you literally just did a scene where you're literally playing a child that's been AR'd. And then you have to go act like a smiley, cute little kid for this princess ad. I mean, that's literally, again, I don't know the ins and outs of psychology, but I was a psych major. So literally when I think about developmental psychology, I think about just how harrowing that has to be. And you have no one there helping you transition out of that. I mean, that's just absolutely disgusting. And honestly, I don't think children should even be playing roles like that. I don't think they should be doing stuff like that anyway, where they were playing a kidnapped victim or anything dark and nefarious. No, just no. Let's just scrap it, okay? So then Alyson beautifully explains how at the tender age of 6, she was really beginning to try to understand and conceptualize her sense of safety, her identity, relational attachment, and the difference between the fake and the real world. And this is why I have such an issue with child stardom. And I guess that's why I talk about it so much, is because you are so young. You don't have the capacity at that age to be able to properly differentiate real and fake. You may be thinking of it like, oh, I'm just playing pretend. But when you're that young, it can seep into you so easily when your identity has barely formed. You're still just so young at that, especially at age 6. You're still so young and you haven't had enough life experience to carve your own identity for yourself, you know? And I also agree that this is hard enough for adults. Let's take Michael B. Jordan, for example. He said that after he played the role of Killmonger, he literally, could not snap out of the role. He had to go to therapy, he said, because he literally embodied Killmonger even after the movie had finished wrapping. He was really so stuck in that Killmonger way that he had to get therapy for it. So if it's that hard for an adult, imagine how hard it is for a child. And this is what I love about Alyson's video, is that she gives practical solutions for these kinds of problems. So she said her first solution is to have a third-party professional on standby to help monitor working conditions, help discharge emotional turbulence, as well as help you transition from one identity to the other, I guess. So from your character to your actual person, like who you are. I thought this was great. Personally, I think we could use more. I think we could use maybe 3 to 4, 5 mental health professionals that can help you make those transitions and keep you safe, as well as them being a confidant. So when you feel like you've been harassed or when you feel like you've gone through misconduct, you can go to the person to help you. I think that's amazing, and it wouldn't cost these people that much. Just like she said in her video, it wouldn't cost that much. It costs less to hire a mental health professional than it does to hire damage control. So Alyson was also talking about child labor laws and how set conditions were extremely hazardous at many times, and she acknowledged that she was a working machine at 12 years old. She also said that there's about 17 states that still don't have regulations for child entertainment. This made me really sad when she talked about how at 12 years old she felt like a working machine. I felt really bad for her because, again, you're 12 years old. When I was 12, I was in 7th grade in band class. That was probably the most I did after school was band. She also talked about having to attend tons of interviews, a ton of training, and agents were even telling Alyson that she should apply for early emancipation to increase her hireability, and she's only 12 years old. So these agents are literally pushing this child to emancipate from her parents so she can get hired for things. This is just so grimy, and it just goes to show these agencies are so greedy, and it seems like they don't have the best interest for the actor, actress, or artist at heart. All they care about is the money, because you're literally encouraging a 12-year-old girl to emancipate early. That's just sickening to me. You are not even you're not even in high school yet. Oh gosh.
Meanwhile, agents are encouraging me to look at early emancipation so I can work longer hours. This is going to increase my hireability.
Alyson then goes on to say that the onset of puberty made her waist and bust the center of attention. And this is where I want to continue talking about the fact that people like to think that P in Hollywood is not a real thing, or maybe it's not as recurring as we think, or they want to think oh, these actors or actresses can't be creeps and da-da-da-da. They want to act like that's not a thing. But Alyson is making it plain that her going through puberty, her bust, her waist, that was the center of attention. So Alyson then goes on to talk about her lack of education and how her education was spotty at best, and she would miss months of school at a time, and that she was trained to always be on. She never had an off switch. And this honestly reminded me of a comment that Raven-Symoné made before. I was watching an interview of Raven-Symoné, and she was talking about how when she was a kid, after she kind of finished acting, I think around that time, whenever she made a joke, she would leave the room after she made that joke. She would make a joke, she could probably be at any random gathering with her friends or family, and then she'll make a joke and then she leaves right after she makes the joke.
I would have a conversation with people and then leave the room when I made a joke, because that's what I did on television. Aren't we having such fun? I had to like get over these programs in my own body because I'm the little girl that entertained you since she was 3.
Again, these kids are programmed to constantly be on. They don't have an off switch. They have to constantly put up this persona. They have to be basically anything but themselves. And maybe it's getting better today amongst child stars of today, but at least the ones of the generation before, so really just a decade before, I must say, they didn't have that luxury. I mean, the fact that you are programmed to walk out of a room every time you make a joke, I mean, that's crazy to me. So this next comment may get me in trouble, and I really don't want it to, but I'm gonna share my opinion because I've been wanting to say this for a long time. She said that she was grilled by reporters about current events that she didn't have an opinion on, or that she wasn't an expert on.
Grown reporters grilling me on my opinion of current events, for which I'm not an expert.
And I just wanted to briefly say that this is why I get really irritated at the fact that we look at celebrities as our spokesperson. I'm not saying all people definitely don't, but I guess I'll speak specifically for the Black community. I feel like by and large, the Black community likes to look at all these celebrities as their spokespeople for all these issues. And I understand that they have a platform and they have influence, so there's something that they can do to help. But in all honesty and truth, I'm tired of expecting these artists to speak every single time there's some type of social tragedy, or every time there's something this or that or this or that. We want to get these celebrities to talk about it as if that's going to really help anything. It's really, I mean, I get it that it's going to spread awareness, but that only goes so far, you know? And I feel like there are real activists, real people that are on the field, real people that know of these things. You know, they went through the education, they have the know-how to be able to comment on these issues as well as propose solutions and help. You know, I'm tired of that whole thing where it's like we want to look to celebrities, especially celebrities who are young. We should not be expecting celebrities who are so young to be commenting on such huge issues. Because honestly, a lot of these celebrities, they live very privileged lives and they're very out of touch with what the average person is going through. And I'm going to speak in the context of the Black community. A lot of even these Black celebrities are out of touch and they don't live the same. They don't understand what the average Black person goes through each and every day. And this is why I feel like we should be doing our own research as people. We should be, you know, advocating for ourselves and not just running with what this celebrity says, what this headline says. Like we should really be making sure that we can advocate for ourselves. I just, you know, so I don't know why that her comment kind of reminded me of that, but it just did. And so, I mean, if you're pressed, I don't care. It's my opinion, but it just kind of reminded me of the fact that it's really sad that we're putting pressure on these kids to comment on things they don't know anything about. And again, if you're not that type of person that likes to put celebrities on a pedestal and have them speak for you, you know who you are. Good for you. Good for me. You know who you are. So yeah.
And when a lot of these celebrities speak out, a lot of times it's for their own gain. You know, they have some monetary gain or some type of vanity. And it's also pretty performative at times as well. It doesn't seem like they truly are like in for the cause. They're in for it because that's how it, you know, that's what's in. And it may affect them to a degree, but then they don't really put the pedal to the metal and do anything else besides just talk about it. So, yeah.
I also love Alyson's proposal for how to mitigate these kinds of issues. She talks about we should have mandatory basic industry and media literacy courses for guardians and for representatives of children. And this is to check the motivations of the guardians as well as the motivations of the agencies, the greed of the agencies. And I love how she mentioned, it was small, but she mentioned motivations of the guardians because there's so many parents who just want their kids to be famous because they want to live vicariously through the kid. They just want money. And so she's saying, let's look into their motives to make sure that we're doing what's best for the child. Let's make sure the child really wants to be here and not, oh, we're doing this because we need money and our kid is cute and we know that our kid can make us money, you know? So Alyson then talks about her 17-year-old self and how her family was falling apart at this point, and she could count on one hand how many times she had seen her father, saying that the industry basically sucked her and her sisters out of his life. And she spoke about how she was really breaking down. She was having a horrible time. Her spirit was shattered. And so she checked herself into rehab, not for drugs or alcohol, but because she was severely underweight and she had gone through so much mental just burden from everything she had gone through throughout the years. And so this is where she went to really seek help. And she talked about how there was so much pressure to continue working. She thought about, oh man, like My team is still pushing me to work. My team is still pushing me. Culturally, I'll be reduced to all my old work because clearly if I'm going into rehab, I can't take on new roles. And so everyone's going to remember me for what I did back when I was a kid. And that's not going to hold a lot of weight when I want to take more serious roles as an adult. And so her team was pushing her to continue working, but she was like, no, my health comes first. I'm literally reduced to this. I need help. I need help. And I really, really, really applaud and commend Alyson for that. She talked about through therapy, she was able to go through deep work, deep healing. And you can tell by her video that she did go through a lot, but she was able to come out of it through her taking the initiative for herself and getting herself help. I think that's just amazing. And I highly encourage anybody to go to therapy. You know, if you really, therapy is great. Me as a Christian, I love to pray. I go to Jesus for all my issues, and that's great. But also I think therapy is also a really great supplement as well to help you and to help push you. So if you're really feeling on the fence about therapy, I highly encourage you to at least try it. And if it's not really for you, then you don't have to continue going, but at least try. I think it'll really help you, help unpack things you're going through. And so I really enjoyed that she mentioned that, and she just talked more about how there were things she didn't mention, that there were a lot of other instances of terrible things she went through that she didn't talk about. But she's hoping that her video really opens up this conversation for how we can really mitigate this issue with child stars. I thought it was great. Again, I thought her video was great. I thought it was very well thought out. I thought it was she was very articulate in this video. She was really hitting all the points. I thought her solutions were actually amazing. She had practical solutions for how to mitigate these issues in child stars. And I really, really applaud and commend her, because it had to have been hard to come out like that, but she felt that she had to. And to be honest, let's think about it this way. Alyson Stoner was very popular back in the 2000s, but she wasn't on the level of like a Miley Cyrus or Selena Gomez. So just imagine what these other child stars who were bigger than her went through when she wasn't even that big of a child star compared to them. Again, I really, really, really am against child stardom, to be honest, because of all the terrible things that these kids go through. But again, I'm so proud of Alyson for bringing this to the forefront and really speaking from a first person view, from a bird's eye view, instead of it just being a tabloid or being a magazine that talks about it. She's talking about her genuine experience, and no one can take that away from her. No one can say she was wrong. No one's saying that she's lying, because she's not. So yeah, I thank you all for watching this video. I'm sorry if I was all over the place. I just had a lot of notes and I had to keep referring to my notes. I just really think that this is a great conversation to have, and maybe try to drop some solutions you guys can think of in the comments to help mitigate these problems in child stardom, because quite honestly, I don't have a lot of solutions. I still don't want child stars at all, but hey, that's another conversation for another day. But yeah, thank you all for watching this video, and I'll see y'all next time. Peace.